Councilmember Schwer?
Here.
Councilmember Wong?
Here.
Councilmember Nordby?
Here.
Mayor Monge?
Here. We.
Mine works.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved.
So move, Councilmember Schwer.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Not hear anything.
Do we have a spy out in the audience that we can
Damn it.
let us know if our microphones are working?
Yeah.
There,
All right.
share.
All right, topics.
All right, first topic up, personnel policy update. Sick leave and earned sick and safe time that just came out and passed legislation. Dan Winnick, our finance director, is going to take this over, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Yes, this past legislative session, there was a change in the creation of earned sick and safe time accrual that'll go into effect on January 1st of 2024. So what that means for us is that for every 30 hours that an employee works, they get 1 hour of, at a minimum, they have to get 1 hour of earned sick and safety time. Last night I happened to be watching the Fox 9 News, and there was a nice little report on the sick and safe time. I'll call it ESST. It's easier for me to say that part to it. And I never realized this, that there is more than a third of the Minnesota's workforce that does not currently get paid any time for sick time off. You know, that's like 970,000 people that do not get any paid sick time. And Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had a little quote that she had said. She said, "You shouldn't have to choose between taking care of yourself and the others that you care for in a paycheck." And that is just such a true statement. How the policy or how the legislative reads is that you earn for if you have an employee that works at least 80 hours in a year, for every 30 hours that they have to get 1 hour of this ESST time, you up to a minimum of 48 hours in a year, and then they can carry over no more than, as a minimum, 80 hours. Now, a jurisdiction can give more hours than that. That's the minimum. That's underneath the state legislation, the statute. There's some different options that could be given. You can front load hours at the beginning of a year for an employee. If you choose to do that and they don't use all of that 48 hours, you need to pay them out whatever they did not use at the end of the year. You can also front load 80 hours for them to use at the beginning of the year. That does not require a payout at the end of the year. One of the big components to this is that it's really expanding the usage for the employee, the individual, and for others that they care for. And so there's many other usages that are eligible for them. It is allowable to, if an organization has a current PTO or sick or leave, whatever configuration that they have, and it meets the statute's minimum requirements, that you could utilize that. And that, in a way, is what this policy that is presented in front of you has been written. The city actually does a very nice job as far as benefits on sick. Each employee earns 8 hours per month, or 96 hours on an annual basis. So what this policy is doing is changing the language of what we currently know as sick leave to be sick kind of slash ESST time. Part of one of the requirements that we will end up having to do beginning in January is that on every individual's pay stub, that there has to be that tracking of that ESST time. So in this policy, what would end up happening is that it would just show sick leave slash ESST time. It meets the minimum qualifications all the way. Actually, it's more than the minimum qualifications that are in the state legislation. And I happen to be out looking at kind of some blogs, kind of looking at some comments of different individuals just to see what some of their sense or their feeling was on this piece of legislation. And I came across one that I thought kind of fit us as an organization and something that I've truly felt for a long, long time myself as an employee. And the quote that I'd like to share with you is, I think for those of us lucky enough to have full-time employment with benefits, nothing will change. And that's what our policy is really in essence, except for the expansion. But I'm so glad this passed for all the part-time and full-time workers who get no paid time off. It was just a rotten system. The people who can least afford to take a day off without pay were the very ones least likely to get paid when they got sick or had an emergency. It's a great win. And to me, that kind of gave my own personal sentiment on the passing of this, because I was aware that there were a lot of employees that I've come across through the years that get very little sick time and some with none. And to be put into a position to have to choose whether it's something for yourself or for somebody that you love and taking care of them, in between that and I'm going to lose I potentially could lose my job, or that I will not get a paycheck and I'm not going to be able to make ends meet. And so I have always felt very fortunate being in government where we do have very good benefits. And so the policy that's written here today, that's before you, and I'll take any questions that you have, is really to change our policy and to expand the usage. So there's much more liberal usage of the sick leave ESST time moving forward in the future. We meet all the minimum qualifications, and the individuals here that are full-time are still getting 96 hours of sick time, in addition to the vacation that the city provides for them. Some of the nuances and changes that are going to be here: first, elected officials are exempt from this. They're excluded, so you will not be getting the ESST time. Right now, we do give sick time that we know as sick time to full-time and part-time. A change that'll be coming is that we will also have to start doing it for seasonal employees and for our on-call fire. So those two categories will actually have to be done on a manual basis. We'll end up having to run reports because the system cannot automatically determine what hours they've worked and not, because the schedules change so much, especially with the on-call. And then we'll have to adjust those so they show up on their pay stubs. But with that, I'll entertain any questions, thoughts. This was really a collaboration with Jenny and myself, and then legal, Soren, to come up with this policy and the change, and to make sure that we were meeting the statute, and that we hopefully have made it clear enough and understanding. Now, adopting this doesn't mean that in the future we don't change this in some way, shape, or form, there's kind of a difference between what's being proposed here for full and part-time, because those are going to be automatically prorated, and they'll automatically get those on their pay stubs or accumulation just like they do today. The difference will be that there's